Now, sitting next to Yuri at our desk here is Kerry Allen, who's going to talk us through some stories which you've been seeing on Chinese social media. Kerry is, of course, the China media analyst for BBC Monitoring. We saw your email earlier, and you mentioned some stories there. So let's have a look at first about this one: walking dogs in Beijing parks.
It's now banned.
Banned?
Banned, yes. So what's been happening is we're seeing more and more regulations be introduced, and this is ahead of 2020, when China is implicating throughout the whole nation a social credit system. So it's trying to crack down on what it sees as uncivilized behaviours. And so in Beijing, there's already been regulation introduced for, I'm talking really crazy stuff, things like manspreading on the subway, eating...
That's when men sort of have their legs open too wide, sitting down, and
yes,
sort of taking too much space, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Eating on the subway. And now they're looking particularly at behaviour in parks. So, they're starting to... they've said it's in relation to people making complaints about owners leaving their waste in parks, also people not having their dogs on a lead, and if their dog is quite aggressive, that could be concerning to young children. So yeah, they're cracking down on people walking their dogs in Beijing parks, and other things as well, things like fishing. But this in particular is the one that's obviously created a lot of attention.
Yeah, and another story which you've flagged up for us is sales of dresses for men. They're going up.
Yes. So, there's at the moment, like everywhere in the world, I think, most places, there's a heat wave going on, and in some areas of China it can get up to 40 degrees Celsius, and so what's been happening is that because men are too hot, they're buying dresses and skirts online, and it's not something that you would expect to see on the street in China. It seems to be something that people are doing predominantly in their homes, but there's this hashtag that's taken off online that tens of thousands of social media users have been using, basically saying with the heat comes men's skirts, and a lot of men either covering their face or exposing their faces, showing them wearing dresses and skirts.
And very finally, to make a perfect three, there's a story about divorce, which has got a lot of people talking on Chinese social media.
Oh yeah, this is a wonderful story. So there's a woman who her husband was in prison, and he's been in prison for 2 years under a fray, and so what she'd done is she wanted to get divorced from her husband, so she'd paid a doppelganger to go to court and go through the divorce proceedings with her. So this man came out of prison just under 2 months ago and discovered that he was divorced. He had no idea, and his wife had filed this divorce. She got all the paperwork, pictures of this man who looks quite similar to her husband, and so big talking point online. There's an investigation into this woman as a result.
Thank you very much for that. That's Kerry Allen, our China media analyst from BBC Monitoring, with, I think we should call it Kerry Corner now. Because basically, just to briefly explain to people, you spend your time combing through social media and finding these things. What kind of sites do you look on?
I look on Sina Weibo mainly, that's the equivalent of Facebook or Twitter. But sometimes, it's like, a lot of these stories, they can be traditional stories that you just see lots of people talking about.
Well, bring them here every time you see them. Thank you very much. Kerry Allen from BBC Monitoring.